So you playing a live intro today then, Steve?
No, I'm not. No, because I updated the intro music.
That's when we got the pre-recorded one.
Which, and I thought you could use that in the edit. As long as you liked it. I mean, you might have listened to it and gone, "Oh no, what has he done?"
To be fair, though, we had a discussion off camera. It's about time we have an upgrade on the intro, so it's a nice 2.0, I think. Very good.
Right. Yeah, very good. But I have to do the intro then. Is that part of the deal?
Yes.
You don't have to, but everybody else has.
Kinda.
Everybody else.
You would just feel let down if you don't.
So yes, because obviously I've been listening to a podcast, and some of your guests have done really funny introductions, and I haven't.
Already off to a good start. So.
Yeah, that's a good start. However, I was sat in the car in the car park of an industrial estate yesterday, waiting for my kids to finish doing karate, and I quite like word games, and so I was making up anagrams of your different YouTube channels, and they came out pretty good. So I was going to share those with you. We'll test for water, see if my sense of humour connects anywhere at all. I'm just looking at Glenn, see how worried he is.
Go on, go for it.
Go for it. Okay, so KJ, crude but efficient. Weirdly enough, these anagrams worked out as being kind of a question and an answer, which I thought was fun. So crude but efficient works out as iced but fierce fun. I thought was quite good. And Haavard from Behind the Mistakes. Behind the Mistakes worked out as shaken bed, shit time. And then
that's what she said.
and then Glenn's, so No.1 Projects. Reject prone bum. No.
It even sounds like something you could have said.
So that made me chuckle.
Brilliant.
That's like the bizarre world versions of us, I think. I love it.
It's the inverted episode.
Yes, exactly.
From the other side.
So, welcome, my mate Steve, or Strumstick Steve, as you're known on the podcast.
Welcome.
The music talent of the pod.
Yeah.
Oh, God, you were talking me up the other day. On the last podcast I was listening to. Yeah, you're like, wow, I wouldn't be who I was without Steve. And without Steve.
I don't think I said I wouldn't be who I was.
No. Clearly, I have zero influence on who you are, but in terms of like your strumstick making and so on, yeah. So it was nice. I was like, I haven't heard anybody talk so nicely about me for ages. It was quite nice. I was like,
I mean, I have mixed feelings about seeing you, Steve, together with Glenn, because we had a bit of a running joke that maybe Steve didn't exist. Maybe that was Glenn's alter ego, and that he actually knew how to play those instruments. He was just really good at pretending to be crap.
Right.
And then, no.
That would be good. That would be funny.
I just wish I had a friend nearby who I could utilize and monetize for YouTube videos and that sort of thing.
We actually had a drunken discussion the other weekend on it. You know, if I do get monetized and I ever do make any real money off of YouTube, what would Steve's cut be?
Oh yeah, what did we decide on?
Oh, it was pretty good because I think you were a bit drunker than me, so I think you settled for 10%. I was going to offer you loads more than that, but 10% it is.
Yeah.
I mean, could it just Steve go in and register his music? I mean, officially, and then you just get a copyright strike.
Oh,
and
that
he
would
takes
have
all
been...
your money.
Oh no,
that would have been low key awesome. Uploading episode. No, you've been copyright striked. What?
Well, Steve's wife's actually quite the businesswoman, and when we first started on this little journey, a couple of other friends said, if these videos ever take off, Becky is just gonna, she's gonna want at least 90%.
Okay, so Steve gets 10% and she gets 90. Is that? Nothing left from Glenn.
Yeah.
But then it's going to be like Glenn said then, and she's going to have 80 of that and Steve have his 10%.
Yeah, that sounds like the traditional split in my household.
So Steve, as an outsider, so to say, what did you think when Glenn started talking about this podcast?
About this podcast?
Yeah, when we started it. How did it look from the outside?
I'm a little confused. What do you mean?
Well, what your reaction was? No, but when we started it for like 1.5 years ago or something.
Oh,
I don't know how he introduced the concept. What do you think? What, are you going to start a podcast? Are you mad, or that's brilliant, or what was your reaction?
No, I was really intrigued because I know Glenn. So our daughters grew up together. Our daughters met when they were only a couple of months old, and slowly the families got to know each other. And so I know Glenn has been a gardener and a fisherman, spent a lot of time fishing together. And when he said he was going to do this, I was like, okay, that's very different. So just curiosity, really. But I've enjoyed it because there's times when I've been doing a lot of decorating of the other house that we have, and just doing work on my own and being able to put on the podcast and being able to hear you guys giggle. It's kind of reminds me of sitting on the fishing bank with Glenn. It's just it just feels really homely. So yeah, so it's nice. And I think it's funny how you got, because my kids were saying, "What are you going to talk about?" And it was like, God knows.
That is correct.
It could be anything at all. I mean, probably talk about what people have made in the last week. I think that's definitely going to be in, but apart from that, who knows?
I think by the time the podcast had come around, you weren't surprised really by what I said I was going to do, were you? Anyway. Right. Because I think starting the YouTube thing was probably a biggest surprise, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was. Yeah, because I remember helping you work. You had that free audio software, didn't you? We were trying to muddle our way through. Was it the first time you had to do an edit, or the first podcast you did, and you were working out each of you did an edit, and then you were working out.
That's right.
Who got dibs on it? Yeah.
Yeah, I had I think 3 hours on it on my own, and nearly had a breakdown. I can't work this stupid software.
Yeah.
Now it's a doddle.
But the chances are
Steve,
there's tons of...
Go on.
Well, no, I was just going to say, chances are, Glenn, there's tons of preferences and options that you have that you're not even touching.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, because the audio software is a nightmare like that. And every once in a while, something's not working, and so you plunge into the depths of it to try and fix it and just become completely lost for hours on end.
I use every option available on that software, I can assure you. Fully explored.
But I mean, it is... I guess it's the human nature. I mean, we very easily settle in our ways, and things happen in the software realm quite often. And then, of course, I'm pretty sure I'm missing a lot because I'm just using what I know. I recently just ditched Adobe world of Photoshop and picture editing, and then of course the learning curve on new software it's steep and it's frustrating, but it's like, that's a nice function. Why didn't Photoshop do that? but I mean, they have become so big and set in their ways that they couldn't be bothered. Like, but the smaller companies coming up are really thinking outside of the box, and it's probably the same as well for all of the other softwares. I mean, I switched video editing to DaVinci a while back ago, and that was a change that turned out to be better than what I used before. But it really got me thinking, though. I do have a lineup of my most used software, and some of them are 20 years plus. I mean, in a newer iteration, of course, but yeah, maybe it's time to change up a bit more. But
yeah, I mean, software also, I mean, the user interface. A lot of companies doesn't seem to spend that much money on that part to make it intuitive and easy to use, and sometimes you wonder how
they can spend a
many...
lot of money on the interface part, but they seem to forget the user syntax of that.
yeah, the user experience is not so important, and then you start to wonder how many people in that company actually knows how that program actually works. Right. And there's some rumors going around that at the Adobe suite, that the lead engineers, so to say, have disappeared from the project, so no one really knows everything about it, so just patch it up and hope for the best. and people keep paying for it.
So Steve, I've seen the software you use, and that certainly doesn't look like something you want to relearn. How long have you been using that?
Well, since uni, so 13 years, I think. But I had so when I first got a laptop, so I did a full-time degree course, music course, as a mature student, and I bought myself a laptop because it was a music technology course, and I very faithfully did every single update that came along, and I was very proud that my laptop was completely, up to date. And then I can't remember which one it was, but this update came in, and after I uploaded it, then it said that all of the existing software was now out of date, couldn't be used by the operating system, and all the hardware that I had to plug into also no longer spoke to my computer. And I couldn't undo the update, and it cost me a lot of money to go and buy new equipment and new software. And then Pro Tools did a weird thing as well, because you could purchase Pro Tools, but now they've changed it so that it's a subscription, so you can't own it anymore. So I just use Logic Pro, which is the Apple version, which I'm quite happy with. Logic Pro does enough. I think if you're really sensitive and really clever and experienced, you could hear what it is that I do, and you would know that was Logic. It has some telltale kind of traits about it, but yeah, I mean, there's tons of loads of things, loads of menus I never ever touch. I've got no idea what to do. I should go back to uni.
I've never heard anything you've done and decided that was Logic.
So do you do everything audio, or is it just music recording, or what is it that I play around with?
Yeah, so
exactly.
Yeah, so well, I really like composing, so I'll sit with an instrument and just play until I find something that intrigues me and sticks. And then if I remember it the next day, then I'll try and add to it. And then if I still remember it a week later, it will probably get recorded.
Then it's good enough.
yeah. If it's still there, it's a bit like my houseplants. If they're still alive in a month.
You're very, very talented, obviously, when it comes to the music, but you have one little disability, don't you? And that is the fact you don't read music, so you can't write it down.
Yeah, that is true. Is it a disability? Yeah. No, I think it's really bad. I got a music degree and I can't read music, but there we are. So, it's not a necessary thing to do. I've been forcing myself to learn how to read tab, which is where essentially it's a picture of where the strings are and then the number of the fret that you put your finger on. And that made me crazy for a long time as well. But I've started working that out now. But I never liked doing covers, Glenn. I don't really like doing.
No.
No. I kind of figure that belongs to somebody else.
It's always been fascinating when I've handed you an instrument, and you've, for instance, the last one, I think it was the fire extinguisher Strumstick.
Yeah.
I said I'd really like a piece of music for this. Gave you the Strumstick, and within an hour you got back to me, and I said, no, can you just do something more heavy metal? You went, more heavy metal on a Strumstick? Are you joking? And I didn't reply, and within half an hour you'd done it. And when I gave you the diddly bow, you had that for a day before I came and recorded you playing it. You'd never played one before, and that's probably my favourite piece of music you've come up with. So it doesn't take you long, does it? It doesn't take you long to figure out this stuff, does it?
No, I tell you what I do struggle with, though, is I've been walking my dog, and so I was talking to my oldest boy Richard, and I was saying I want to write some songs which are kind of autobiographical, and then particularly going back to being a teenager, a late teen, and all the madness of that time, and there's a song that I wanted to do. I mean, I was walking the dog, and so I had the rhythm of walking, and I was getting these lyrics together, and it's like, do you know what, this actually, in my head, this sounds really good. And then when I sat down to play it, I just can't get it out of me. It's really frustrating. If I just sit and like fiddle about it, like, oh yeah, I like that, and I can develop it. But if I've got something that's a strong idea, I'd sometimes really struggle to get it out and to have it sound outside the way it sounds inside. But that goes back to that conversation we were having the other week. It's kind of like, because you being creative with wood and making wood, like that those same kind of issues. And I was thinking about, at least with me, if I completely muck something up, I can just put my guitar down, and it's not broken. It hasn't had a chainsaw go through it. You know what I mean? Like, because you guys were talking about, like, you got some really nice wood, like people will gift you really nice pieces of wood, and then it's just sat and it's sat and it's sat and it's sat, because you don't want to commit to putting a mark into it until you're really clear on the idea for it. So I was trying to figure out what's the connection, because there is a lot of similarities in the creative process, isn't there? But it's just the outcomes for it.
But I think with regards to music production or any audio production today, you are very lucky. I have a stack of maybe 4 to 6 like reel to reels. My dad and his friends played in a band in his younger days, and I have the master tapes. So of course I've long since digitized them, but they would have been sitting for weeks at end in our basement at that time before I was born, and probably have a lot of good material, which they decided, well, this is not worth putting to tape, which would have been really fun to have today. But with the storage capacity, and today, whatever I do, I can leave things on record and I can keep it. And I don't have a tendency of deleting anything. I just buy a new hard drive, but that's relatively cheap. And that is, of course, fueled of what you just said. I can do something, and then, all right, if I remember it the next day, as you said, then it might be something. But I don't remember things the next day. So I can have a good riff just sitting with the guitar, and then I can store that as good riff _ 45 today, final version test. And of course, I don't have a system for cataloging it, so I know that I have a lot of cool things stored somewhere in a folder somewhere, but so I have to sometimes take a journey and dive into some old folders just to see what's there, and then now that I can actually use today, and then you bring it back again. But the worst is the mornings you wake up and you dreamt about the most fantastic riff or the fantastic project, or you just woke up and that was a brilliant line for a book project you're doing or something, but I can't remember what it was. You only remember the feeling that it was amazing. And that is, I mean, if I could have a recorder on my dreams so I could pick up all the crazy ideas that I forget when I wake up and just remember the feeling of them, that would be that would be a revolution in the audio toolbox.
I think bringing that back to physical projects, I have a lot of ideas when I'm at work because, my work can be pretty mundane. So I get lots of thinking time. So I can have an idea, and if that idea sticks and I start thinking about it more and more, then they're generally the projects I make or I'm going to make. The ones I forget, you just don't worry about those anymore, do you?
No, and if you get something stuck in your brain, then you have to do it to get it out.
Yes.
I mean, that's the only way for me, at least, to get it out of my head if an idea sticks. So it's a blessing and a curse, I would say.
Yeah, I've definitely had some sleepless nights thinking about how am I going to make this, and never why am I going to make it, though. That never keeps me awake. I've never been one of those people that worries about, but I don't need that thing, so why would I make it? I think a lot of people suffer from that, don't they? I don't think either one of us here today is guilty of that one.
I'm not able to visualize that, so it's a concept I don't understand.
No, maybe if it's something that is purely decorative, then I might have to force in some kind of practical use as well to convince myself of it. But otherwise, no.
Do you ever get the urge to physically make anything, Steve, or are you happy with your musical creativity? That's enough to keep you occupied.
I think you've seen the things that I've made, Glenn, and if it can't be fixed with gaffer tape, it doesn't get made.
Yeah, you haven't really painted Steve as being successful in the physical realm, so to say.
I didn't ask him if he could. I asked him if he wanted to.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I knew the answer to one of those questions.
Yeah, I take a sound engineer's approach to stuff. If it doesn't move and it should, you spray it with WD-40. If it does move and it shouldn't, you gaffer tape it. But sometimes, I mean, when because I sent you guys that short video that I've got left from those musical birds that I made, and that was about the time when I first met you, Glenn, when I was at university, and they were, the outcome eventually was brilliant, but making them made me crazy because I had to make this little electrical circuit, and it was powered by these teeny tiny solar panels. And I didn't know if the circuit was working, and then it would be like, oh yeah, because it's cloudy, and so I'd have to and all of a sudden it would start working. It's like, what have I done? What have I done? Why is it working? Yeah.
Actually, I just remembered as well. Back then, you had I think you'd made sort of a rattlestick out of beer top bottles, hadn't you? And maybe something out of a gas bottle.
Yeah, it was an empty, hydrogen bowl. That was quite good. That was funny actually, because I was saying to Becky that I did a piece of music on Max MSP, so it was a programmed piece of music, and it was when Maya was a teeny tiny baby, and I did it so that it generated sounds of like trying to emulate the sounds of breathing, and then some birds, and then I made some bells, and it was really slow. And I was saying to her that there's lots of things on YouTube now where like the sound of rain for people to go to sleep to. And so maybe I should put it up on YouTube because I think there's a chance that people would actually listen to it now in that context. And Bex was like, yeah, but Maya never went to sleep to that. She went to sleep with the sound of that stupid gas tank that you made. So I sit clicky plunk on that.
I was really intrigued by those birds, and I really want to do something, and I have had an idea at some point that I would have something that would make a sound, noise, whatever. Of course, being me, it should be an annoying sound, but at complete random, and you just put it somewhere and you just wait for it to surface in a local news or whatever. But the problem is if it isn't random and someone can find it, they would trash it. And it's like, it would be nice to make like the mechanical bird installation and put it out somewhere where it would be activated by people going by or something. But that got me thinking. We have a plane crash from the Second World War not far away from where I'm born and raised, and I was always puzzled, why hasn't anybody covered it with graffiti and stole all the parts? And that is because you have to get out of your car and walk up a small hill, maybe a kilometer. And vandalism doesn't, I mean, people who tend to do that, they don't put on hiking boots and go for an hour to be able to achieve vandalism. So maybe making a mechanical bird or something and then put it along some trail where kids don't fall out of their cars with their energy drink box and just like being hoodlums. So yeah, I'll look into that this summer. We have some nice tracks not far away from us, but far enough away that the people who frequent there might not be bothered destroying an art installation, if you can call it that.
It's a be a fine line whether it's an art installation or an act of vandalism in itself, isn't it? Because what you're actually doing is altering a perfectly nice walk in nature with nature's sounds.
Yeah, and that's the thing, though. I mean, you could go the metal bells and whistle path, or could I get a taxidermic crow? Then, of course, you could make some sinister noise and like a motion sensor and mount it on a branch close to. And then, of course, only make it active like when it's almost getting dark, so if someone goes around at the right time, they get some heavy breathing and some sinister, maybe some red glowing LEDs behind the eyes. So yeah, if anyone has a taxidermied crow, or I'm open for other animals as well, then just hit me up and we'll see if you can make art.
Do you know what I love about that is that you've not pre-thought that out. That has just come off the hoof right there and then, hasn't it?
Yeah. And,
it just fell out of your mouth.
And the really annoying thing is that in the 70s, I think my father and mother found at the side of the road someone has run over a badger, and then they had a friend who did taxidermy, so they had it taxidermied, as you do in the 70s.
As
and
you do.
We had that in our cellar for many years until we realized, what are we going to do with this one? So we just set him free into the wild. So, of course, we went to a well-trafficked road, and then, of course, we dug a bit in the ground so we could cover the base plate up with some grass and dirt, and we put it there. And yeah, we heard some rumors about a not so shy badger at the side of the road, that at some point someone would have figured out what was going on. But I kind of regret us doing that now, because if I had a taxidermy badger today with the workshop I now have, that would be a nice project.
Hey, if you want a dead badger, I must pass at least 4 on my way to work every day.
Yeah, but that's we didn't talk about taxidermy, didn't we? I mean, how hard can that be? So, I mean...
Now we know what to give Glenn for his birthday. A taxidermy course.
Oh, no, I don't think I've got the stomach for it. Smelly old badger that's been dead there for a week.
But you don't have to take the week-old ones.
Yeah, but the skin comes off easier.
Does it?
I don't know.
I don't think so, but who knows? I've never skinned anything, so what do I know?
I skinned a rabbit once, and that was gross. Didn't like that process.
I mean, you can always taxidermy a fish.
Yeah,
like Bobby Duke did. Yeah. Didn't you feel like it? I mean, you're both fishermen.
We've never purposely killed anything we've caught. Or that I've caught. Steve doesn't catch anything.
I've always found that a bit weird, going fishing without actually fishing. or I mean, it's like having sex without orgasm. It feels like.
Well, I will say, I think if you were to compare our camera rolls from fishing trips, then Glenn would have pictures of fish, and I've got pictures of sunsets.
So, Steve, would you ever have any interest in getting hold of any Haavard's amplifiers, and what would you do with those if you could?
I'd be very intrigued to come and have a go on the Hell Corder. I think that would be fun to sit with.
Yeah, it would be nice to have someone else who is also better at playing instruments to actually try them out. And of course, I'm just planning for the third iterations, putting bellows in and some other recorders, but I'm focusing on the mechanics. I mean, it's going to be a 3.0, but it's not going to be noticeably better sound quality wise. But I mean, that's a problem for later. We'll just push that in front of us.
How's the Bagtar coming along?
Oh, it's coming along well, I think. I've made it took me a while to trace the back side of the guitar, so I can now make the bracket that keeps the 4 bagpipe pipes in the right direction. And of course, you need them spread out a bit for flamboyancy. And then I realized there is not much room on the back of that guitar. I wish I had a bigger guitar, but I'm not going to spend money on that. So I think I found a design for the back plate that works, but it indicates 6+ hours printing time. So I'm just going to verify that everything works, because it's going to be modular, so I can remove each pipe without removing the back plate and then mounting the bellows. I did buy a new Arduino board. I have it here actually, and soldered all the pins yesterday and tested it out, and it seems to work. I also found someone that has done, obviously not the same because they're not insane, but they have some software that I think will work almost like copy paste. So I need to have some feelers out if they are willing to give away the source code, and so it shouldn't be too much tinkering about. So it's a couple of evenings of soldering, and then probably 3 weeks of pulling the hair that I don't have over the programming bit, and that was also the worst pain in the ass for the Hell Quarter as well. Getting everything to work, and of course, some of the MIDI boards that I got were pre Arduino. So if I knew what I know today, I could just have used an Arduino, and there is a lot of things there. So trying to get old hardware to talk to newer hardware, and you have to tweak. And then of course, whenever it's Windows based, is like an old driver for that made for a different Windows version, and you need that to talk. And you have installed some software that has put its paws on that COM port that you need to get that board to work. So there is a lot of, I don't like programming, I don't like software hassle, but it's still it's very much of what I do.
Homemade Marco just got ChatGPT to write his code for his last project, didn't he? Can you not do that?
Yeah, and of course, I'm guessing it's getting better by the day. Half a year ago, I heard someone is like, yes, you can get a code, but you will spend just as much time as writing it, debugging it. But I mean, at some point, you can just tell what you want and you get the finished code. And of course, that is I think the last 5 years. I know a few people who are teachers, and they're like, all right, now we're teaching programming and coding in school because that is going to be the future. Yeah, but by the time the kids are old enough to start working, they don't need to know code. They just need how to articulate what do they want, and they get it. So the advancements in that field is happening so fast that we can't keep up, basically, I think.
It's more important to learn programming basics, the thought behind programming, not the actual coding, but the architecture.
We had a professor who said that, university is, it's not what you learn, but it's learning how to learn and problem solving. And of course, you have different schools there as well, pun intended. Some of them are very like, okay, you can't bring any helping aids into exams or whatever. And some universities are more, once you get into the work life, you just have a task that you need to solve, and you can use all the tools at your disposal. So we're going to do the same thing here. You're going to learn how to problem solve, but you also have to learn what tools are out there and what is good for what. So that is my approach as well. I mean, I don't need to go and remember things. I know I can learn what I need to do, and I think it's the mindset that is more important.
Yeah, knowing that I have a vague recollection of I have known this at one point, and I know where to go to find the correct information. I don't have to know everything.
Yeah, and then the question very much becomes what you said. I mean, when the lead engineer leaves and he's the only one who knew how the entire system works, then when you are dependent on systems you don't understand, and you just give them a prompt and you get a result, and you don't understand how you get that result, at some point you might not be able to even fact check it, because the ways it's compiled, there is no way for a human to do any verification. So that's a challenge. But yeah, that's a challenge for the next generation, I think. But it is a good question to ask, I think. Do you need 12 years of, like, I'm not sure what it's called in English. You have the preschool and the school up to the high school, and then you have some years of high schools, and then 3 to 7 years at university. I mean, to do the job that I have today, you've had like an inflation in education. So the generation before me could do that with like coming right out of the trades, and then someone decided, yeah, you need a bachelor's degree to that, so you had to pain yourself through 3 years of school, and now you have to have a master's degree. And people are like, all right, maybe I need a PhD. No, you do not need that for the job. But it seems like there's an inflation in the education system. But at some point, like, you have people who spent 20 to 25 years in the education system before they start working. They are already halfway to their retirement age. So at some point, the cost benefit of that is, I mean, I've had some of the greatest moments at university. I mean, in having the like-minded people with the same interest at the same place, and you have the, obviously not the economical freedom, but the freedom for everything else. You just have a beer on whatever day because you felt like it, and have great ideas and follow up on them that you will never have. But so I can understand people want to study for that, but maybe not for 25 years.
No, I mean, part of the school system, it feels, is letting people grow up and be functioning humans that is actually employable. I mean, looking apart from that, you shouldn't really employ 12-year-olds if you want something done. But they need something to do until they're fully formed, so you actually can have use for them. And then why not have them learn stuff at the same time?
I think it was Mel Gibson of all people, and I'm not sure if this is from a movie or it is a clip where they quoted him like, no, it was not Mel Gibson. It was Sylvester Stallone actually in a television series that the education system is not as much about the grades or what you learn, but it is showing a future employer that you can meet up for several years at the same place in over several years producing a decent result, because that is what they know. I mean, if you could sit down 3 years at a university just given tasks where you only like half of them and you can get through with the decent, then yes, we would like to hire you and give you mindless tasks to be carried out. So
some of the local drunks would have the same qualification, wouldn't they? We went to the pub every night.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that producing a result. I think that was the key thing. And not enjoying every part of it.
Yeah, and of course I could think about a couple of industries that would come in handy. But then again, if you see people running a still or a beer making company, I mean, they don't drink on the clock, and that might be a good thing.
Yeah, so, don't get high on your own supply.
Yeah.
What have you been up to making wise then, KJ?
I've been trying out the spot welder.
That looks cool. Is it cool?
It was fun. I mean, the instructions were in badly translated Chinese into English, so it was interesting at points. But when I started using it, I realized what they meant with the press lever, wait 3 seconds, happiness or something like that. It said, because it was a delay from when you push the pedal until it actually did the welding. It was a little underpowered. What I wanted, I think the metal parts that came with the batteries, because I removed the broken batteries, and that metal was like 0.3 millimeters thick or something like that, and that was too thick for the spot welder to handle.
Oh,
wow. The nickel strips that came with it was only 0.1 millimeter, and those worked fine. So I think it could handle a bit more than that, but not much.
You can't up it either, can you? Because it's battery operated, isn't it?
Yes, which I didn't realize when I bought it. So I can go and spot weld anywhere. The freedom. So I maxed it out, but it seems to function as advertised. So that's nice, at least. But because I had one battery with a really old control board on it, and I thought this can't possibly be intelligent. I should be able to trick this one, but no, it seems like it was some kind of something with it, because it would charge even when I switched it to perfectly fine batteries. So yeah, I'm gonna have a closer look at it and see if it's something obvious, but it didn't feel obvious when I looked at it. So yeah.
Are you still confident you're going to get success with this project?
Not confident, no. So far, everything has not turned out how I planned. But yeah, hopefully I can twist it around, because I mean, you get all those parts in the video that you want with failure and regrouping and trying again and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it feels like this is going to be my longest video ever, because this is one of those subjects where I can get a bit talky,
a bit nerdy.
Yes, very much nerdy. When it's doing some thinking about this and wanting to relay that information, and yeah, so it won't be for everyone, but for me, like always, I do every video for myself, more or less. So the people out there who are me get a video, and the rest of you can sort of.
You should also remember here that in this video, you're also doing it for me, because I'm really looking forward to this, because I'm genuinely interested in what you're testing there. And of course, I want the spot welder myself. So yeah, I'm just checking YouTube every day for a notification on that video coming out.
Yeah, well, at the moment we're waiting on the package arriving from China, so yeah, don't hold your breath. I think it has cleared customs, so it shouldn't be that long. But I mean, last time I think it took the same time for it to, when it had cleared customs, to get to my home as it took to get from China and into the country. That was about the same time.
Gosh.
So yeah, the last leg is a slow leg.
Is it just the winter time that slows things down in Sweden, or is it?
It's Denmark.
Okay.
Everything is the Danish fault, because for some reason they decided to take the Swedish postal system and the Danish and smack them together, because then we can get some synergies. But the Danish system was already on its last leg, and they were just laughing that they managed to fool us, and now everything is going to shit.
I think the only thing we get to blame Denmark for in this country is decent bacon, which is all right, isn't it?
Yeah, half of them are pigs.
Oh dear.
I mean that in a literal sense. There are a lot of pigs in Denmark.
I think we've insulted the country for at least 2 weeks now.
Yeah. I'm just happy it wasn't me this time.
I much prefer the videos where you are talking and explaining and saying, and particularly those moments where it's like, oh, this didn't go the way I thought, and now I've had to change this, and that feels much more connected. When it's just a piece of music and you're just going through the motions, it just feels very disconnected. And it's like, and I can kind of follow along to what you're doing, but it doesn't. I don't know. It sort of loses its personality somehow. So yeah, so for you to explain what's going on, maybe it's because I'm a nerd as well. I don't know. But I prefer those kinds of videos.
So you don't like most of my videos then?
Horrible music.
Yeah. No talking.
And he's sick of the music.
I quite like it. You kind of star in your own videos. It's like, suddenly it stops and you address the camera and put a piece in. And I think I quite like a cameo. It's funny. I like it. Yeah. But I never tried to video anything that I'm doing. I'm always so short of time, and frenetic in the way that I do things. But like being able to stop and set up a camera and it would just completely blow the action. I wouldn't know then wouldn't be able to get back into what I was doing. So
yeah, we had a big conversation last time we were in France, didn't we? And you promised me you were going to set up a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
You didn't.
I didn't.
It feels like you have to come and record him. Be the cameraman, Glenn.
Yeah.
So the star can shine and not be distracted.
Yeah. He did do a piece of music last year at some point. And it really inspired me. I wanted to make a music video for this piece of music. But again, that's something we never got around to because I was too busy physically making things. But that would have been quite an interesting project to work on.
Yeah, I've always wanted to do music videos, but then I would want to do them decent at least, and then you need some more people than just the one person trying to film themselves. And it would be too much of a hassle and not be as good as I wanted it to be. So then we're back at all that, making amateur movies and that sort of thing, which I also would like to do. But then, you need some kind of crew to do that. And I don't play well with others, apparently.
So this piece of music that Steve did, it was Steve grew up in the punk era and very much under a Margaret Thatcher government, and it just threw up quite a lot of strong imagery, which I think would have been quite easy to find just a lot of stock footage and put that together and make it work.
Right, that would be quite good. I actually saw my old friend Jimmy, who used to share a house with during that time, and I sent it to him. And his response when he came back to me, messaged me, he said, "I thought that was amazing. It made me cry." And I was like, "Oh, okay. So it really is a powerful piece of music." I was really quite surprised by his response. So.
That's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. I haven't seen him for years either. So yeah, it was nice.
I haven't seen him, then made him cry.
I know.
Well done, Steve.
I might have made a few people cry, but for completely different reasons.
Well, an emotion is an emotion.
Yeah. Guess so.
So what about you, Glenn? What have you been up to?
It was a slow week for me last week. As you can probably hear in my voice, I'm still a little bit under the weather, but I did manage to get the Strumstick finished. But I'm very pleased with how it looks visually, but I'm struggling to get the guy over to come and test it for me at the moment. He's just so busy. So yeah, it's all filmed. All I need is the final shot to get it edited, and then it can go over to the music department properly and get finished. A proper collaboration.
To the music department.
Hey, if Haavard could have a whole team of people helping him out behind the scenes, I could have a music department.
And you can go and have a beer with your music department.
We should get you to play one of your old ones. So you'll play something and I'll play something over the top of it. It wouldn't be complicated. You could do something quite easily. It would be nice.
You say that, it's very, very complicated for me. Yeah.
I mean, it would be fun. You do the ding, 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 and then slowly Steve comes in and builds on that.
Yeah. Maybe if you could start me on the tambourine or something, Steve, or just one cymbal.
I've seen those videos where they take a guitar or whatever stringed instrument and they record themselves just playing every single note on the fretboard, and then they just cut that together into a music piece. And I just like, I mean, the process is straightforward, but oh my god, the time cutting that together. And I might have, of course, it seemed more labor intensive, but if you could take those notes and you could manipulate them in audio software alone until you have the melody, and now that you have the auto align footage to the audio in DaVinci, it might have done the arranging the footage to the audio a bit easier, but still, that would take too much time.
Yeah, it looks really painful. I mean, I've seen those. The outcome is really impressive, but I just think you must have curvature of the spine for all the hours you sat.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be a lot of work for not much profit. It feels like. But hey, if you can't make music flow from your hands, then you have to find some other route.
Yeah, music is music, I guess.
I just need to build a recorder into one of my next instruments and appear like I'm playing it.
Yeah, I mean, you could take some shortcuts in the video edit. I mean, you can make it look like you know how to play it. So
I did just simply think about buying a couple of T-shirts the same, and I start off and then obviously cut to Steve playing.
I could stand behind you and reach around.
That's always been a fantasy of yours. I knew it. Some sort of weird ghost scene, instead of the potter's wheel.
Yeah.
You have lots of great ideas, I hear.
Yeah.
I've seen those videos, and that would have been cool. I also thought if I'm going to do something and I know that I can buy the part just as easily as making it, and I know that this old Tony has made it, it's like I could wear the same T-shirt or whatever in that video that he's doing, and now I just have to go over to the lathe and do this. And you just put some tacky music on his videos where you see his hand and it does things, and voila, I got this new machine thing.
I think you're going to be pleased with the outcome on this one, Steve, on the Strumstick.
Yeah,
the resonance is very good on it for having that deeper bowl at the back. So
yeah.
It's down to you now to make it sound really good.
So you didn't go for the what did we say? Ostrich? Like trying to emphasize those knots into eyes. Yeah.
No, it would have been nice, but they were smack bang in the middle, so the strings go over it.
Right.
I really liked Haavard's idea of putting a plectrum storage underneath them to look like a beak. I thought that was really clever, but again, just would have all been covered up by the strings, unfortunately. If they'd been anywhere else, or if I'd have thought about it, I would have put them somewhere else.
Right.
That would have been cool.
Yeah. That was very attractive. Haavard, I think it's nice.
Yeah. Haavard's decided the whole thing looks like a bird box anyway.
Yeah. I mean, you should store it upside down on your wall and then just have that one peg coming out right underneath the sound hole.
I just want to point out, whenever he makes anything, I'm very positive about it and always very supportive and never mention anything negative.
I've been supportive all the way. I just calls it as I see it. I like bird boxes. I even have one with a camera in it.
Bird pervert. You've got a sign up telling them they are being recorded.
Yeah. On air, like literally.
All the time. Either in the air or on the air. Yeah? That's a bird's life. Oh, that's so stupid. Maybe that's a good thing to end the episode on.
Yeah, it felt a bit half-pinty there all of a sudden.
Yeah, so we should just end this so we can keep on being worse.
So if you're interested in bird porn or whatever, head on over to the
Steve reaching around.
And where can we go from this?
That was one of those sentences I should have listened to in my mind before my mouth got into action.
Yeah.
No, that takes too much time, mate. Totally unfiltered.
All right then. Bye.
Bye.
Good evening.